Γεια σας μαθητέ, hello students, and welcome to lesson 6 of 6 in Let's Learn the Greek Letters. So we've been learning the letters four at a time, and again, not in order. I've already explained why. Before watching this, be sure you've watched the first 5 videos in the series and practice those letters featured in them. Thus far, we've learned 20 of the 24, so with this video, we're going to complete the Greek alphabet. Καλό μάθημα, let's have a good lesson. And before we get started, I do want to talk a little bit about writing. Like all other skills, writing takes practice. These letters are difficult to write. In fact, many people say these are the most difficult ones to write. So we want to be sure that we can read the letters and that we can write them. And this will take a lot of practice, but I'm not going to show you how to make the strokes here. So that's something for another video at another time. The first of our 4 letters today is sigma. We've seen it in other videos, and it's one of the most common letters and sounds in Ελληνικά. So, sa, se, si, so, si, so. And let's practice the syllables with the sigma at the end. As, es, is, os, is, os. Now the capital sigma looks very different from its lowercase friend, right? We can see that it almost looks like an E, and some people who don't know their Greek think it is an E. The other thing that's interesting about sigma is that there's another lowercase form, okay? And this one's only used at the end of words. And if you look at it very carefully, you can kind of see where the S comes from, okay? Now, I told you sometimes people who don't know their Greek get this letter wrong. And you've probably heard of this show that's supposed to say Greek, but whoever came up with this terrible logo thought that these 2 letters here were E's. They're not. Those are sigma. So if we were to read that, it would say grsk. I don't understand what they were thinking. Okay. Now, sigma is the only letter in modern Greek to have 3 different forms. So we have one capital, the one that looks like an E, and 2 lowercase ones. And the lowercase one that you see here in pink, this other one, only goes at the end of a word. It'll never show up at the beginning or middle. Okay, so it sounds the same, it's just written differently. It's almost like a little sign that says, hey, you've reached the end of the word. Now let's look at some words that feature the sigma. We have salata and selino, tessera, soccolata, sico, sico. Oh, look at that. These words are homophones. They just have a different O at the end. Okay, but the meaning is completely different. Next we have Melissa, the honeybee. So if you know anybody named Melissa, you can tell her that her name is Greek. Himos, babas. And we haven't talked about where this B sound comes from, but we'll see it soon enough. Cafés, which is coffee or brown. And remember, these pink letters at the end are only used because they are S sounds at the end. Our next letter is Zita. Z. And this one's pretty easy because it sounds just like the Z that we have in Anglica, in English. Za, ze, zi, zi, zo, zi, zo, az, ez, is, oz, is, oz. Now, some of you who are studying ancient Greek might have been told that it has a z sound, like a dz or a ds. Okay, but for us, speaking modern Greek, we're just going to treat it like a regular z. And some ancient Greek students also use it as a regular z. And here are some words that feature the zita. We have zevra, zari. Now, this is not die as in like I'm going to die from all of this heat. It's just talking about this. Zonni, vaso, vaso. Oh, look at that. We have more homophones. The only difference is the o at the end. And then over here on the right side, we have nomizo. The next one is a difficult one. Vrazo, vrazo. Zo, zo. They sound very similar. This just has a slightly longer o sound. And finally, Zachary. Okay? Now, zo and zo are interesting because it's where we get words like zoo and zoology. Okay? All right. So far we have these two letters, and you might be thinking, wow, they're so different, and they don't look like anything I've seen before. But, you see that other sigma? Check this out. It's hiding right there in the zeta. The zeta has an extra little hat on it. Okay, so these letters are not all that different. And if you look at the capital Zita, which I didn't show you earlier, it's written like that, just like our Z. And then at some point, Greeks started writing with brushes instead of chiseling into stone. So everything got a little smoother. And it kind of went like that. And everything got rounder. Okay? So maybe that'll help you remember. Our next letter is not one that's used a lot. This is the xi, xi, and it sounds like an X. Now look at the capital. The capital xi is written like that. And you might be wondering, how did this capital letter become this lowercase letter? Well, like I said on the previous slide, people stopped chiseling and they started writing with brushes, and everything got a little smoother. And the lines started to be connected. The artist or the writer stopped lifting the brush. So you'd get lots of round curves, okay, and these very fluid strokes. That's how lowercase letters came to be, because a long time ago, Ellinika had no lowercase letters. They're really new, actually. So here we go. Xa, xe, xi, xi, xo, xi, xo, and ox, x, 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 ox, x, ox. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. But before we do, just like the zita is really kind of like a d and a s mixed together, the xi is a k and a s mixed together. Okay? It's actually one letter that represents two sounds. And the last letter that we're learning is this one here, psi, which is a p and a s sound. It's two letters, two sounds that make one. So we have psa, pse, psi, psi, pso, psi, pso, and ops, eps, eeps, eeps, ops, eeps, ops. So a long, long, long time ago, this letter didn't exist. Greeks used to make the ps sound by writing a p and a sigma. And somebody said, hey, this is taking up too much space. Why are we using two letters? Let's just make a new one that includes both of them. And that's where psi was born. And in English, we often see words like psychiatry or psychologist, and the P is silent. But when you see PS at the beginning of a word, it's probably from Ellinika. So now let's look at a few words that use the psi and the xi. We have psari, psema, psomi, xero, xino. So here are the four letters we learned today, and here's why I put them all together in this last video. We have our S sound, and we can find it here as well in Z or Z in our Zita, and we can find it here in our Xi, K, S, X, and we can find it here in our Psi, P, S, Ps. See how they all have a S sound in them? Here's something else, and I wonder if anybody's picked it up yet. If you look very carefully at the Xi, you'll notice that it also is hiding that S that we talked about earlier. Remember this guy? Okay, we saw it here in the Zita, and here it is down here in the Xi. Look at that. S. In fact, if you look very carefully, it looks like we've got a K and a C and an S. And they just get smushed together to make X. And let's give it a little hat. Okay? That's not really why it looks that way, but it's a good way to remember. So now as we go through our complete alphabet, we have alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, there's our first new one, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mi, ni, xi is our second new one, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, taf, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, and omega. That's it. That's all 24 letters. There used to be more, and I mentioned them in a different video, but we don't need them for what we're learning. Now you might be wondering, hey, what about b, d, and g? It's true, we haven't learned how to make a b sound because there's no letter that makes it. Same with d, same with g. In the next set of videos that's coming, now that we've learned all the individual letters, we're going to learn how to make other sounds by combining letters. But for now, we're going to stop here. So make sure before you watch any other videos, you go back and watch these 6, learn how to read them, learn how to say them, and how to write them. lowercase and uppercase. Okay, see you later. Telos.